Hello. Yeah, I'll do a Sunday stream for a bit. Apologies, I'm quite tired. Been at work all day. Fairly. I mean, it was meant to be a fairly busy weekend this weekend because obviously it was the one, before Christmas. But to be honest, I think the weekend before was a fair bit busier. But it's still, been quite tiring. All right, the JTP guy. But yeah, there's no theme to this stream or anything. It will just be a case of people can talk about what they want and all that. Right, sir, moderator. Right, Moad. Right, Idan. Right, insulted. So yeah, reason I put tired is I said I've had a busy day at work. So the good thing is at least it seems a notification's gone out for this because it says there's 22 people watching, 23 people watching. Don't forget to like the stream if you're watching because that seems to help them get shared more. Yeah, I was originally going to stream Friday, but then didn't end up getting the time. Yeah, it's not Christmas until Wednesday, but yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. All right, thank you. Yeah. Hopefully you enjoy that if that's what you want to do, Insulted. What country's that in then? Oh, you mustn't have watched a video in a long time, Moad. I've had the Tash for like a month or two now. I've said a few times now, but half the week I spend doing YouTube, half. And then at the weekends I work as a kitchen porter, sort of cleaner job. And I volunteer with the Blue Cross, which is an animal charity, on Thursdays. No, and I don't really plan to see it, Marshall, but no spoilers, because don't ruin it for other people that want to actually see it. All the people asking the same question, no, I haven't seen it, and no, I don't plan on it. I'm sure it would take absolutely months and months to grow to the point where, it looks very neat and tidy. I'm definitely not into maths, though. I'm shit at maths. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything of particular interest I've received since the last time I did a stream, other than some more old aircraft dials, as far as I'm aware. No. Well, saying that, there's an IR flashlight that Hype sent me that came, but there's not really a point showing that on the stream because I'd have to show that using night vision set up with a camera anyway. Right, Richard? Which one, Norbert? If you mean the one that was on today's video, that was about £50. I think I said in the thing. There's one Hype sent me for free, which I'll show you here. This is actually a better model. The only problem with this model is it doesn't beep. Also, in case you're wondering, 26 microsieverts isn't the background radiation. I've just had it next to some stuff to do a test on it. The slight damage I've done is me doing that. It didn't come like that. But this one's all right for what it is. You can display either in microsieverts or counts per minute. And you can put an alarm on or off. I normally have the alarms off on these because, wow, yes and no. The SLR has been taken down. The Enfield is there, but it's out of frame. The others have been moved, so they shouldn't ever come into frame. The SLR is actually there, but I'm not going to show it on stream, obviously, because of YouTube's stupid new rule. I would say no, it's not healthy to eat a GP5 filter. No, I don't know a lot about Canadian military stuff. There's a katana there, yeah. Just visiting my grandparents on Christmas Day. Is Canada upgrading to the LBM from the C4, or is that only Australia that's going to the LBM? Nothing wrong with cheeseburgers. Yeah, there's a thing where for some reason on live streams you cannot do anything regarding firearms. You can in regular videos, but not live streams. I do not understand the logic, but I have to follow the rules, so there we go. Well, if I did, I wouldn't say Hayden, but no, I don't. Everything I've got is perfectly legal. Because obviously, you know, I think that should be quite obvious. If I was doing YouTube videos on it, I'd be an absolute idiot, wouldn't I, if I got something that I couldn't legally own and then go, look, I've got this on a video. That's a pretty quick way of getting arrested. But no, I've not got anything illegal. Hello, Pyrotechnical. Right, Ghost Jesus. What YouTube has said is that not for regular videos, but for live streams, people cannot like handle, transport firearms or anything like that. So yeah, I don't quite get it. Some people have thought it might be a thing, you know, like so you can't do a mass shooting type thing. But the thing is, if you're a mass shooter and you're live streaming it, you probably wouldn't care about getting a YouTube strike if you're going to go out and murder, suicide a load of people. So again, I don't get it. I'll have to follow the rule, but it means that I can't show any DX on the streams or replica firearms. So no, I can't show you a PPSH. Yeah, exactly. It's illegal to be a criminal. Yeah, it doesn't really work, does it, having a rule like that? Well, I'm sure for the price of a Panzerfaust, Moad, I could actually move out somewhere or buy something a lot cooler. No, I don't, Victor. Other than wanting to get a Canadian C4 at some point, not really. I mean, there's a couple of masks that would be cool to get, but it's all about if they turn up at a good price. At the moment, I'm just buying more Geiger counter kind of material than anything else, just because that's kind of my current obsession. Yeah, that was in Oxford, Richard, funnily enough. That was down, was it in Jericho? Or it was one of the places not too far from Jericho. But I knew the exact road when I watched a thing about that. But yeah, he took a selfie, didn't he, outside the house where he murdered somebody. And his fingerprints and all that were all over the place. It does really make you think, doesn't it, at times, that somebody would be that stupid, but no. I've got a butterfly knife trainer, but I don't have an actual butterfly knife because they're illegal to own in the UK, sadly, for some reason. Right. For vintage reasons, probably the CDV 700. I've got two of them. That's the one that I'm going to get round to repairing at some point. That's the functioning one. The most practical of all of them that I use the most is probably the mini monitor because it can detect alpha radiation as well. And then there's stuff like the DP75, which is really good as a sort of one that does from low to high range. Although I've got a Soviet DP5V on order, and I think the DP5V might end up being one of my favorites when that arrives. Right, it's not a Geiger counter stug. Sometimes it works. Oh, shit. That just hit me on my foot. But this still works. This is Chinese, so it's built a bit better than some of the German stuff. The eternal German. I'll get it down. We'll take the Christmas decoration off it and show you. But basically, that's an ion chamber, not a Geiger counter. They work in a different way. But I can... Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. It's the reason I'm not putting it back together. Because when I can just literally open it up like that, when it stops working, you know, it's at least easier to fix. Right, let me turn it on. And we'll check if it's working. Circuit check's working. Let me just do the thing. Annoyingly, I can't really hold this up and show it you very well. Because how this has been designed, if you hold it at an angle, it offsets to 0. which the US CDV 700 does not do. But yeah. So what I'm going to do in a second is I can test this, because I've got a stuff that should make it on the lowest setting. Let me just zero it, give a reading. So let me just set that to 0. Especially if I put something underneath the ion chamber with it open, because that should detect alpha and beta very easily that way. So let me grab this, because this is handy. And obviously I'm not going to spill this everywhere, but this is where I've been extracting radium from radium aircraft dials with paint stripper. Scary amount of radium dust in the bottom of that. And what I can do is, if I put this above it, I should definitely get a reading if it's working. Because the radon is literally shooting straight up into the ion chamber. But no, it's not getting a reading. What I will do is just lift this out of its case a second, let the needle go back down, and then pop this. I know you can't see me, so apologies for that. Pop the ion chamber there. The problem is, if it touches something, it gets a reading that way, which sort of offsets it. So it's very hard to test this accurately. Anyway, I'll turn this off for now. But for those of you who don't really know what this thing is, I can demonstrate it using something that works far more efficiently, which is this, the US CDV 715. Basically, it's the exact same kind of unit, just built very simply, not built by a German. It's just an ion chamber unit. You mean the FMJ08? It's not exactly new. I did ask Hype about getting me one, but he said they're getting quite expensive now in China because they're not produced anymore. And he said he might be able to sort me out an FMJ09 at some point, which is a newer and better mask, but it's not really the S10 ripoff. I can't give you an opinion, Bogdan, off on it because I don't have one and I don't really know much about it. I've tried that on all of them, Hayden. Disappointed to say, no, that there is nothing on them. As in the Scott M95, no. If you have a joke, say the joke. Don't say I have a good joke and refuse to say it. But yeah, how this one works is technically, actually, it's the US CDV 720 that's closer to the German one, because that has the beta window at the bottom. This is the 715. But basically, you've got your zeroing thing. So let's just put the lowest thing up to the max thing. Let them warm up. And then how this works is it's basically just got the ion chamber there. And then if gamma rays enter it, it gives a reading. But at the moment, that's only reading that because I haven't zeroed it. And it's being held up in a funny way. So let me zero it. Zero it for the angle I'm holding it at. That will do. Then when I do that, in a moment, it should pretty much sit between 0 and 0.2. I saw a review of one of these where a guy was saying they were junk and essentially giving them a bad review because he had not read the manual and he didn't understand how they work, which always frustrates me on videos. Because if he read the manual, he would know that if it sits between 0 and 0.2, when you shouldn't be getting a reading, the manual specifically says that that's just because of, like the circuit. And the guy also didn't do all the circuit checks properly and like the warm-up function and check the calibration. So, don't give something a bad review because you're too stupid to understand how it works. But, that's most people in a nutshell. But the thing is, with a CDV 715, you shouldn't really see the needle move at all unless you actually have something quite scary to get the needle to move. I might get one at some point, Ghost Jesus, but I've not planned on it really soon. What I will do though is I'll get the radium. Hang on, radium water in paint stripper, and if I just sit down, let's see if that does anything to it. I don't necessarily know if it will or not, but no, and I can't be bothered to get any of the aircraft dials out to test it at the moment. But essentially, yeah, how this works as an ion chamber unit is it just if you've got scary levels of gamma radiation penetrating it, that's how it gets its reading. But let's see a nebula. In this, I think the manual says about 150 hours. If it's a full battery, what you do is put a fresh battery in it, do the circuit check. When it's a brand new battery, it should go to the very end of circuit check. When it's outside the circuit check thing, when you do a circuit check, that means the battery is not good enough. It just takes one D cell. And then all you do when you set these up is you'd have it in the case. So just match it. It says you can operate it without the case, but it's generally a bit better protected, I imagine, being in the case. You'd have that. Ideally, have it on a flat surface. So I'm just wondering if there's somewhere behind me where you can see it in frame. Let me just put it on the edge of here. So yeah, you'd have it. You put it on a flat surface or relatively flat surface. Sit it on 0 for a bit for it to warm up. So I'll just let it sit on 0 for a minute so the circuits warm up. Then when you've had it on 0 for a minute, you turn the zeroing switch till it sits on 0, then put it on the lowest setting, as in, or like the highest setting, depending on how you look at it, like the 0.1 setting. And then if you start getting readings where it goes off the scale and that, you go to the next setting and then carry on going. Yeah, it's an ion chamber, so compared to Geiger counters, they don't use much. I mean, even with Geiger counters, they're very high voltage, but low amps and everything. A Geiger counter is like the US CDV 715s, which is actually a Geiger counter, not an ion chamber. They're about 900 to 1,000 volts, but they don't really have much current going through them. It's just high voltage. Ion chambers are actually even lower voltage, and again, like not much current either. Basically, just how an ion chamber works is it's just if radiation enters a bit, it gives you a reading. That's really all they do. They don't really need much going on. That's cool, Sam. Have you put on them any masks yet? I think if you put modern batteries in it as well, Jennifer, like modern rechargeables with, you know, really high milliamp sort of capacity, they'd probably last, you know, days of being switched on. I don't want to say too much, Stug, because if there's stuff I'm bidding on whatever on eBay, I don't want to tell people what it is in case they want to bid against me. Anyway, so what I do now is I put the 0 onto 0. So there's that. Right, now what we do is we go to 0.1 on it. Then all I do is I'd sit there and wait for, you know, the actual thing to go onto the dial. There we go, and that's stopped at 0. And then basically it will sit just on 0 doing nothing unless it starts detecting radiation. But yeah, sadly a lot of people online say these either don't work because the needle's not going all over the place, which it shouldn't, because the smallest range on it is 0 to 500 millirontgen per hour, and 500 millirontgen per hour is a very scary number. Or they say it doesn't work because they said the needle moves ever so slightly, and they've not read about zeroing it properly or using the right voltage of battery, you know, warming it up and all that. But yeah, it's actually, apparently, I've not tested it, it will float in water, that, if you're on about that one, the ion chamber. Apparently the cases they built on them were literally designed, so cheers, Sam, I guess, my friend. They would float in water. I mean, the one most people would probably prefer, I need to put a bit of electrical tape on this one, just on there to make sure that doesn't keep coming loose, the connection on the wire, is like the 715, because, sorry, the 700, because this is the one that's actually a Geiger counter. You can detect lower levels of radiation. So you flick that on, I'll flick the speaker on, so you can hear it ticking if it wants to start ticking. There you go. And that because Geiger counters detect much lower levels of radiation, this is the one you'd use for, you know, like you'd actually, if you wanted to actually see the needle move on something like this, you need a Geiger counter, not an ion chamber. Right, have a good time then, Mike. So yeah, this will tick a bit in the background all the time because it's a Geiger counter. But I might be able to get this one to max out. Hang on. Quite easily. I'll put it here a second. What I'll do is I'll open the beta shield. Oops. What did it detect then? That's a bit worrying. Is that just the wire doing that, or is it? Hang on. Let me put on the next scale and see if it goes down. What's it detecting? It's getting almost no reading now on this setting. Let me just put it back on ×1. No, I think it was where the wire was doing that, because I said I need to sort this wire out, because I think what keeps happening is where there's a little break in the wire. You know, occasionally just surge the power on this. But let me, anyway, I'll put on ×100. And then what I'll do is, I was going to get this and see, would this set it off? The glass on this might be quite thick though. I need to make sure the wire is tight, or else it's not going to do anything. There we go, right. Just put that back on. And then again, the problem, as I said at the moment, is the wire keeps pulling out. Yeah, I don't know if I'm actually saying that the what's it will max out, the 4 millionth of a gram of cesium-137. Let's just try it. Split up because that's going to get annoying. No, that's not high enough in energy. On the ×10 scale, it goes off the scale, but not on the ×100. So let's just put that back in a nice safe place. But yeah, no, all that was, it was just the cable doing it. But yeah, thankfully. But how many Polish masks do I have? Quite a lot now. The same as last time I was asked, though. But yeah, there's one thing I will definitely say, and what is much better about the Warsaw Pact Geiger counters than the CDV ones is, let me just put those there. Look how thick the cable is on the DP5 compared to the CDV. You're literally not going to have a cable rip as easily. I'll just turn that like that so you can see. Notice the difference in cable thickness, like that. The like the Polish ones and all that, and the Russian ones, Soviet ones, the cables are much thicker on them. You're not going to accidentally yank them out or whatever. Yeah, nice to see you on. This is just like a tired Sunday stream because I've been working, but I suppose it's nearly Christmas. But I might hopefully be getting an old British Radiac style ion chamber soon. people think they're Geiger counters are not Geiger counters, they're ion chambers, but they're just very interesting in terms of being an old Cold War relic that wasn't that well made. But right, happy birthday to your dad then, Sir Moderator. It was just on eBay ages ago. If I'll see if I can find one for you, but I think most of the time on eBay they call them something like spray paint Soviet mask, even though of course it's nothing to do with the Soviets. Well, I suppose it's a GP5 ripoff, but spray paint Soviet. Right, I found you one. Here we go. There it is. Yeah, spray paint Soviet is generally the key word for a lot of the Chinese sort of masks. Which particular model of Chinese one, Justin? The CDV 700 is a lot more classic, but if it was this one, I'd recommend this one probably over the CDV 700. If it was that one I've now got on my wall I did the video on today, to be honest, this is kind of a grey-white colour. The other one's a grey-white colour. Do you mean the one that comes up with a picture of Ernest Rutherford when you first power it on, and then it has the blue current number, the red average, and then the green graph? I'd go with the CDV over that one, because the problem with that one, as I said in the video, it maxes out at 99.99 microsieverts, which is actually a pretty low number. So all it's going to do in some cases is basically tell you, oh yeah, it's radioactive, but I've already maxed out. Other than that, it's pretty good. But the only issue is you can't turn the speaker off completely. You can turn the alarm off, but you can't turn off the ticking, which gets very annoying if you're running it in the background. I ended up getting a screwdriver and breaking the piezoelectric speaker in it on purpose because I run it on the wall 24/7 to check the level's safe. So personally, I'd go with CDV just because they're quite classic. But there's other models other than the CDV 700. There's the 715 ion chamber. There's the 720. There's the CDV 718, which might be one of the coolest Geiger counters ever built, but good luck finding one because they seem very rare even in the US, and I would love to get a 718, but they're pretty rare. No, not from any of the masks. I'm trying to think if any of this stuff has ever made me ill in any way. I mean, saying that though, the Avon escape hood did nearly kill me, because the Avon escape hood had this weird kind of valve you had to open inside I didn't spot, so carbon dioxide started building up inside it. So that nearly suffocated me. But I don't think anything's ever made me sick. I'm trying to think if there's been anything that's... I mean, some of the radioactive items I should be a lot more careful with than I am. I mean, I take all the precautions of storing them in lead-lined boxes and all that, but I'm just going to handle this. But that would be years down the line. You find out you've really fucked yourself over with them, not any immediate effects. All right, Peach. Yeah, and sadly, or thankfully, I guess for most people, the answer would be thankfully, nothing has ever come back radioactive. The only vintage military stuff I have that's radioactive, and I knew they're radioactive, that's why I buy them, is old aircraft dials. Now, that's because of the sheer amount. I'll tell you what, I'll show you some stuff, Maximus, actually. British Army World War II compasses and British RAF stuff from World War II is dope with radium. Let me show you some. I can make the CDVs just go off the scale, become useless. So let me get my samples, which I keep in a box that's got lead in it, in an ammo box for safety. Right, so here's a good one to start with. This is, and I'll check if this is one that stars radium painting or not, because I've got a few of these. Yeah, this stars the radium in, so that's a British Mark 1 marching compass. Isn't the SUSAT, though, tritium? Tritium, I don't think, will penetrate your thing. Because they're very big alpha mica probes, Justin. I mean, some of it will depend who's selling them, but yeah. So, see that brown bit there? That's a big strip of radium paint. So let's get the Geiger counter on it. We'll get the other CDV up there so it's sort of visible. There goes. Right, let me pop this here. I'll let you listen to it. You won't need to see the dial. If I get the angle right, you probably can see the dial a bit. Right, so let's put on the times 100 and check the wires tight so it's actually going to work. Put you on. Yeah, maxed out. So they overload the CDVs, these with the radium on them. And there's nowhere near as much radium on these as the old aircraft dials. Yeah, if you got the actual tritium stuff out of it, then that's a different matter. Tritium, when it's inside stuff, had a good reason for replacing radium, but yeah. Let's see how high this actually goes. I'll tell you what I can do. I'll do what I did before. We'll put the... let's put this here. Oop, if it doesn't stop the stream. There's a chair. So... right, there's that. So that's the radium. If I got the UV torch handy, if I have, I will show you what radium looks like under UV, because it's rather beautiful. But there we go. See the weird green color radium gives off? Maybe you'll see that. Yeah, that's the radium, that bit there. That's the big bit. There's some radium on the dial as well, but the biggest bit of radium there is that strip. Anyway, let me just blow my nose. And what I'm going to do is we'll see how high it actually goes. Let me just quickly put this one on with the digital display. We'll go to... I don't want it beeping at me. We'll go to microsieverts. Let me just put that like that there. That should be fairly close to getting a reading. Should go a lot. It's at 0.8 at the moment, so it should start jumping up. 4.91 microsieverts. Tell you what, I'm just going to have to hold it like that. And then it's out of frame and you can't see it. No, oh, this one's too bright for the webcam, isn't it? Right, let me just get the Polish one out. But yeah, this will tell us how much radium is actually on there, because it won't go off the scale because of how big the scale is on it. Right, let's put this here. And right, thank you. I'm an idiot. 1, 2, 3. I don't mind saying I'm an idiot if you gave me money. Right. Let's go to the smallest scale. We'll turn the alarm off because we don't want that on. Right. I'll show you just the gamma emissions from it to begin with. So in terms of gamma, seeing where it's the highest on it, but the gamma isn't all too bad coming off of this. It might just go off the scale there. Could be, but yeah, right. The gamma might not even be 0.5 microsieverts according to that. Where it starts getting scary is when you show the beta radiation that comes off. So we'll open the probe. Right. I hate the noise that makes, but there we go. Right, so we'll put that there. Whoops, off the scale. Go to the next one, 0. We're going to go off the scale. Yep, right. Next setting, 0. Let's see where it ends up. Let me get this just parallel to it as well, because that makes a difference. It's probably quite hard to get this exactly on it, but bear in mind this is 50 millirontgen at the moment, the setting we're on. It's nearly 30 millirontgen the reading. Might just be going over 30 in a moment. But yeah. I thought he was anti-nuclear, wasn't he, Maximus? I mean, if you said how toxic, probably very toxic. But in terms of radioactive, I thought he was against Trident and everything. But yeah, 30 millirontgen per hour at least coming off of this. This is no compass. Right, let's get an aircraft dial, because the aircraft dials are even worse. Right. Here's a nice one. So that's radium paint on this again. Be very careful handling it. You get this in you, it kills you. The smaller dials are generally worse because the paint's concentrated in a small area. So let's just do that. But yeah, if you have World War II aircraft dials, be very careful with them because they are not very friendly. Right, so let's twist that back now so you can see the display again. Right, let's tell you what, let's put him right over the needle there. Right, we're still on the 50 milli Rontgen scale, and as you can see, we're off the scale. So let's go to half a Rontgen per hour. If it gets to the 5 now, that's literally half a Rontgen or Rontgen per hour, however you want to pronounce it. And again, depending on how you rotate this, the reading may be higher or lower. It's annoying that this one doesn't actually do the clicking, because I think if you heard the clicking on this, you would find it pretty scary. You know, how much it would be going. I mean, putting this directly across the bit where it says not. I'll tell you what I can do. Let's take the... Oh, I really do hate that noise, but let's open the probe completely. Yeah, let's do that, just so I can completely get the probe more flush against it and see what happens. All right, 100 milli Rontgen, 150 milli Rontgen. If it gets to 2, that's 200 milli Rontgen. But remember, this is a bigger dial. The smaller the dial, generally, the scarier they are in terms of the paint's more concentrated in one area. It's at least 150 milli Rontgen per hour. Let's hang on. I'm seeing if I've got one of the smaller dials handy, because I've been stripping the radium from them just to reduce danger, and that's why they're in that coffee thing. Because as much as it's nice having an old dial in its oldest condition, you don't want flaking radium paint because it will literally kill you. So let's go to, where's one in a good condition that still looks a bit scary? Not that one. Bear with me a second while I look through my load of dials. Right, potentially one of these might be quite scary. Let's put them both sitting up like that and do him again and see what happens. That's if either of these dials actually do have radium paint on, because some of them I've been stripping down. One of them does. Right, let's just go down a setting. Oh, yeah, so he's already jumping. There we go, he's getting to 5 now. So that's 50 milli Rontgen. Go to 0.5, zero it. Can I get this one any higher? That side of it seems to be the hottest, I guess, where the 70 and the 50 are. If you're wondering why I have them in bags, it's so the paint can't flake off. But yeah, these ones aren't actually as hot as some of the dials I've handled. Where are the really hot ones? Actually, I'll tell you what, if you want to see them go crazy, here is 2 bits of radium, essentially powder, I got from some of the dials where it was flaking off. So that's 2 basically bottles of radium in there. Right, watch this. And I put that there. I should get that to start going a bit crazy in a moment, if I get the angle right. I don't know if one of them's higher than the other. But it's not jumping up as much as I thought it would, but saying that, that is still nearly 100 milli Rontgen per hour coming off of just literally, you can see that there, a bit of dust. Do you mean out of all of them ever made, Justin, or all the ones I've got? Out of all the ones I've got, that's actually a proper Geiger counter, the Polish DP75, because it goes up to 500 Rontgen, which is slightly out of frame. Hang on. Let me try and get in frame. There we go. So it goes all the way up to 500 Rontgen on this one. There are modern Geiger counters that can technically go to like 999 Rontgen or 999 sieverts, which would be even higher. But getting those at an affordable price might be a bit difficult. But let me just check what other dials are in here, because there might be some others. There's these two. I've put paint stripper on these already to get off some of the radium, but let me just see what these are like still, because some of them, even after you put paint stripper on them, can still be a bit scary. Yeah, like that one, look. He's still going up. Flicking up to the next setting. Yeah, I mean, they're not as scary now I've put stripper on them, but they're still, you know. Now, I think this was one of the ones that was a bit scary before. I haven't put paint stripper on this one. So let me pop that there. Put that there. Yep, look at him move. Still going up, is he? He's on 2. He's a bit hotter in that area. Can it? Will it go any higher? Or have I found the sweet spot? But regardless, that's about 250 millirontgen he's at now. So every 4 hours, that'll give you a Rontgen of radiation exposure. So yeah, hopefully you can see that old aircraft dials can be pretty scary, just because they dope them in radium. If you want to hear what one of those sounds like on a Geiger counter with a speaker, to stop contamination, Justin, it's like why I've got all the samples in bags. But it stops stuff flaking onto the Geiger counter and then, you know, contaminating other things. Right, if you want to hear that through a speaker, let me just put the webcam back and then I'll show you. All right, I can't show you that because of new YouTube rules. There you go, Liam Field's hidden. Right, let's get the mini monitor and be prepared to be scared, I guess. Right, so we'll flick him on, flick the speaker on, because he makes a lovely noise. Right, so there we go. Unassuming looking aircraft dial. Yeah. Radium paint, lots of fun. Not for the people who painted them, they died horribly. Not for anyone who'd have to sit in front of them for a long time. So yeah, if you end up getting any old radium things, or even if you don't know they contain radium, be very, very careful with old World War II dials and military compasses and things like that. Just because, yeah. Like, to give you an idea, like I was saying with the compasses as well, these, the marching compasses, as I said, these have the radium cross there, a little bit there, radium on the dial. These have enough radium paint to totally max out with the beta window open, the CDV 715. See, if I put this on 100 again, and I just put him across there, he's just gone off the scale. Just to show you the mini monitor. It'll be even higher reading on this because it can detect the alpha coming off of it as well. That will just go. Oh, I had the speaker off. So yeah, that goes off the scale using it. With the CDV, even if we, let's say we close the probe on here, just so it's gamma only. I should just turn it around that way it will be gamma only. Let's put that on ×1, put that there. It's probably a bit more radioactive. Yeah, off the scale, ×10. Yeah, it's about 2 millirontgen per hour just of gamma coming off of that. With beta, it's a lot higher. So yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if it's a Jaguar, that M17 guy is in the jet, you should be all right. In the 50s, they stopped using radium and they started using a kind of orange fluorescent paint. But yeah, it's the World War II stuff that's radium. Just because back then they really didn't give a shit about the health consequences, and it meant the pilots could see the dials in the dark. You know, like modern watch looms aren't radium either, but old watch looms are. It's, you know, the same thing, because it's like, I should have it in the thing here somewhere. Somewhere in here I have the World War II watch. Oh yeah, here's another dial. I don't think this is one I've paint stripped, or have I? But yeah, if you just wanted to hear what it does on the Geiger counter. And bear in mind, that's like when 90-odd% of the radium I've taken off of it. Because, yeah, I've put this one in paint stripper. So nearly all the radium's off of this, but there's still a little bit. See where there's some brown writing on it still? That's still enough radium that it still gives. Yeah, that would be the M17 guy. That would be absolutely fine. Literally everybody had stopped using radium by that point. But yeah, BioNerd's done a video where she has one kind of RAF dial from World War II, and it gives off 1 millisievert plus of radiation per hour. In Rontgens, I think that's about 0.15, 0.2 Rontgen per hour. Yeah, but if you were a pilot that survived, your genetics could be totally fucked, because if you're sitting in front of like 18 of those radium dials in an aircraft, each of them's just shooting gamma into you, even if, let's say, the beta couldn't get through you from the clothing and the glass on the dials, that could still fuck up, you know, your genetics later on down the line. Well, tritium is what they replaced radium with, which is still radioactive, but nowhere near as dangerous. You can get modern paints now, though, that glow in the dark that don't contain stuff at all that's radioactive. I'd love to know what some of the watch looms use, because some of that is really good. I'm just going to search watch loom glow paint for you, because some of that stuff is really good. Yeah, if you go on Google Images, type in watch loom paint, and then look at some of the images and see the ones you think look really bright, and I'd say go for any of that. Just the Geiger counter type things I was showing earlier, M17 guy. Or as in the band, the Chemical Brothers, or the music, the Chemical Brothers. Push the button, all those, that's quite old, though, now. But yeah, Chemical Brothers are right. Weirdly, people at work jokingly call me and Bart the Chemical Brothers. But that's because we work with chemicals. But yeah, Ghost, Jesus, I'm actually doing a similar thing at the moment. What I'm doing is where I'm paint stripping those dials, assuming I can get enough of the radium off, what I'm going to do is then paint them with, yeah, a modern, like, really good glow-in-the-dark paint, and then put them on display. But it's just too dangerous to display them with the radium paint on. That's cool, Chris. What was the thing you got working in the end? Because I probably replied to one of your comments, but it's been so long since I remember what all the comments were that, you know. Whatever people want to give me East Coast, I didn't ask for anything specific at all. Because I'm really not fussed. I'm at the age now where if people buy me socks for Christmas, I'm happy, or my birthday. You know, so most relatives, I assume, will give me chocolates, money, or, you know, clothes. So I really don't mind. That's cool. An S6 shouldn't be too hard to find. Oh, you already said, can you put radium in bullets? I imagine in theory somebody could put radium in bullets. Why they'd want to, I don't know. Because if you're shooting somebody, they die from the bullet, not from the horrible radiation poisoning down the line. Ah, cool. Ah, you've got the... What kind of adapter did you end up getting? I'm interested. Because, yeah, the... And what did you connect it to in the end? But, yeah. I am interested in that because, like I said, it's like that kind of pet connector, or whatever they call it, isn't it, on these? Like that. Or did you have one that was slightly different? But yeah, mine is the one that just screws in like that, if it focuses. It's like a screw thread, and then... this is a mini monitor Type 5.10 or Type 510, which is a pretty old one. The nice thing about mini monitors, though, is they're just very simple. Basically, they go on, they click, they do counts per second, or whatever unit's printed on the card. So, yeah. They're not like mil spec, really tough Geiger counters. They're kind of lab bench Geiger counters, but that's why I like them. But yeah, that should be good if you, Ghost Jesus, yeah, get a really good like watch loom paint, put them on. Some of those are like really bright blue or green. Yeah, I get that, Richard, but I've actually got to the stage I like that now, because if enough people buy me enough deodorant sets for Christmas, I don't have to buy any more deodorant all year. I can like ration them out across the months. Ah, that's interesting. What sort of probe did you put on it then in the end? Cheers, Enfield, with a picture of Stalin. But cheers. If you've got a Patreon, not Patreon, if you've got a Discord ID, don't forget to post it, because you can be added if you've donated. Assume the speaker's that bit there, isn't it, on the mini monitor? Ah, yeah, that is. It's very loud if you put your ear right to it. But yeah, it's obviously a piezoelectric buzzer. It's just a fairly decent size one. Well, when I say rationing, I don't mean using a tiny amount, Evan. What I mean is, you know, like where if you know how much you go through in a month and you know you've been bought so many, you can basically say, right, for this many months or whatever, I don't need to buy any, if that makes sense, or I only need to buy this many for this year. Cool, let me look that up, Chris. Eberline, is that one of the US companies that does a lot of those sort of things? Oh, did you get a big pancake one? Oh, lovely. I've seen videos of those where people put them down on the workbench with a big handle, but yeah, that looks lovely. Imagine you get some really good readings of that. And yeah, you can test it on a Mericinium, can't you? Because it's a pancake probe, because you've got the alpha mica window. You can go, like, you know, with this, where, because the Mericinium is normally only gamma, most people can only do that with a Mericinium. But if you've got a pancake probe, you can do that. Because, yeah, you've got, you can detect the alpha radiation. That's not a bad price, I suppose. The thing is, alpha probes are expensive, but as long as you look after it, that will last you, you know, forever. And you can use it for really good things. The nice thing of pancake probes, and this is what I like doing with my mini monitor, very, very good for checking for contamination. So basically, after I've handled anything that's radioactive, what you can do is you can get this, and then you can, you know, check your nails and all that with it. I'm sorry, it's a bit muted because I've got it bent over, but you know, you see, that was important. I've done that because something literally from handling one of those things in the bag has got under my thumb. Hear that? So yeah, if you get a probe like that, always use it to check for contamination. It's fine, that M17 guy, because I can wash my hands as soon as I finish streaming and like wash them really thoroughly and check again. But the point is, you know, those sort of, right, let me just add you, Enfield. The point is with something like that is a lot of people don't really realize how high, you know, a contamination risk can potentially be, you know, with that sort of thing. So yeah, always, if you've got a pancake probe, it's definitely worth checking like bits of clothing and everything like that to make sure you've not, yeah, if you want to put a bag over your tube, you can do, and then you can just throw the bags away once you've done it. But with some probes, they're just very easy to clean anyway, you know, so it's not really a problem. I just generally try and store the samples in bags rather than putting, you know, bags on the tube all the time. Yeah, that sounds interesting, Chris. Do that, because if other people then ask, that would be good information. Because, like I said, I've only got that one particular thing for mine. Right, let me add you Enfield before I forget. It's not accepting your thing. It might be where the space needs to be or whatever else. Let me just try changing the spaces and the hashes and the capitals and all that. Let me try you with a not capital E. Nope, doesn't like you out a capital E. I'll be off in a few minutes, to be honest. Enfield 2009. Why doesn't it like your name? Generally, of Discords, it's always very funny about where spaces are and everything else. It's 2021, isn't it? That's still over a year away. I mean, you'd almost need a second Geiger counter to check your probe, really. Yeah, if you don't have time to get back to me, Enfield, now, I'll copy and paste that again, but it didn't work the other time, and it looks like it's spelled exactly the same way. Unless there's a space in front of it, is there? Just a capital E. Why doesn't it like it? Right, I'm going to manually type it out. Okay, so Enfield 2009. Why doesn't it like it? Yeah, for some reason I've tried it a couple of times and it's still not liking it. But what you can do is just leave a comment on a regular YouTube video with your name again, and I'll try it another time. I don't know why it's being funny at the moment, but for whatever reason, I keep trying to add you to my friends list so I can invite you to the server, and it's just keeps going. Oh, sorry. No, I've just read your thing. It says, has hired a samurai to slay all friends requests. You'll have to ask them to add you. So apparently you have to add me, or you need to turn that off, which makes inviting you to a server pretty difficult. I mean, you could just turn it off for a minute, then I'll add you, and then you can... A couple of weeks' time, that M17 guy, the first video on the Pulse has already come out. Right, there we go, added you. You can put that back if you want. As soon as you accept that, I'll invite you to the server. There we go. Right, invite to server. There you go. But yeah, the full Pulsar video will be a couple of weeks away because nearly all my videos are done like a month in advance, so I have time to, you know, schedule videos and all that. But like I said, there's already one video that's come out, and there'll be more videos coming out while we test the other IR equipment with it. How did you get scammed then? Did you buy like a Chinese knockoff one thinking it was a real 3M1 or what? In theory, yes, it would be possible, but you'd need to know the dimensions for a 3D printing thing, or get one that somebody else has designed and have it, you know, printed to a decent quality. Well, I've done gaming streams before. When will I do them upcoming? No idea. So how did you get scammed if you bought it from an actual store? Do you mean you found paint ghost users? That should be good. That's not too bad. An actual 3M mask generally is expensive for a full face one. Actual 3M ones, not the Chinese copies, brand new, are generally like £30 to £40 just for the half face ones. So yeah, the full face 3M mask, $60 up, isn't bad really. Bear in mind that, you know, the 3M mask isn't really surplus; it's sort of brand new. You know, it should really, in theory, have been made in like the last year or so if you're buying it from a store. Anyway, I'll go off now. Thank you to anybody that's donated. Hope you've enjoyed the stream, and I hope I've shed some light on old radium things that are scary. I'm going to wash my hands several times now and wash under the nails, because that's generally where you get a little tiny bit of radium dust that keeps on ticking away on your hands. And then, of course, the danger is if you put your hands in your mouth, or you eat something with your hands, or, you know, you sniff your fingers or whatever, that radium gets inside you and does a lot of damage once it's inside your body. So yeah, that's the reason. Sort of saying use paint stripper on radium dials and do it in a safe way, because, you know, that stuff's scary. Right, anyway, see you everybody, and thanks for watching the stream. It's been a good one.